Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Dynasty Pros Devy Show. I am your host, Tommy Harvey, along with SC Romero and Andy Pham. Tonight, we will discuss some Week 11 happenings, some guys that we've been impressed by, and a couple that are kind of falling down our rankings. That'll be coming up here next. First thing we have listed on the show sheet tonight is we want to talk about the what's going on at Texas. Quinn Ewers came back this past weekend, and there was a report that came out earlier today from On Three that says he's expecting to come back next season. Big question: what does that do for Malik Murphy and Arch Manning?
I mean, if he does come back, Arch may stay, right? But I think that's a sign Malik Murphy has to leave out, because that's going to give Arch another year of learning that system with him, right? So I think it just goes to Malik Murphy having to leave because at that point, I don't think if Arch Manning has to wait another year, I don't think they sit him for, year three. So I think it has to just be him, and they're gonna, try to develop him even further. So this is a way out for him. I mean, good news for Quinn if he, feels he needs it. I don't necessarily know if he needs to stay another year, but I mean, if he wants to just to try to raise that stake with that QB 25 class looking rather weak than what we were prepared for, I think it could be a good move for him.
Yeah, I know Andy had been kind of pushing the last few weeks of somebody like a Malik Murphy transferring out to like Washington or something to kind of take over that offense. Andy, what do you think about this Quinn Ewers situation with Malik Murphy and even possibly Arch Manning? Andy, your mic I think is muted. I'm not getting any sound from you. Well, while he gets that
We
going,
good?
yeah, got you now, got you now.
All right, all right. Sorry about that. I think it's actually a good thing for everyone involved. I think for Quinn Ewers, I think he needs that another year to refine his game. He's taking the next step this year. I think with his injury, it's kind of, hampered him. So I think him coming back helps him. With Murphy, I don't think he would have ever gotten a shot at Texas anyways because they had Arch coming, behind him. So I think for him, this just goes to, be that, thing to say, hey, I got to go elsewhere. I just got to go. And I think so. That's good for him. And then for Arch, I think he needs another year because when you watch his tape in high school, when he was playing in Louisiana, it was against lower competition. So he needs that extra year and now potentially extra 2 years to learn, develop, and grow. So I think this helps everyone.
Yeah, and I remember following the Arch Manning recruitment, and there were a lot of people who said that if Arch Manning's last name was Johnson or Smith, that he would be a 3-star, not a 5-star. That Manning name carries a whole lot of weight. It also carries a whole lot of expectations. So the fact that he may not play for his first 2 years on campus, um, what did what does that do for his Devy stock? Do you look to kind of move him now based off his name recognition, or are you kind of looking to buy him now that people may be looking to unload him?
With that extra year, I think it helps him. So I would try to buy if there's anyone that is scared of Quinn Ewers coming back. Because if you're playing in a C2C or a Devy, you should already have quarterbacks that you're playing in your lineups. And these guys, you don't need their college production. You want their NFL production. So with him not playing this next season, if Quinn Ewers, the report is true that he is coming back, I think it's actually a stock up for Arch because I don't think he's ready at all. And if he were to be playing next year, I think you would see a lot of issues with Texas. So this helps Arch Manning and his stock for me.
Also, want to welcome on Justin Taylor onto the show. He had a flag football game that he just got in from, so he joined us a little late. But
nice. 35-14 winners in the championship game tomorrow. So
there you go.
Big win.
Good stuff. We were discussing the first thing on the show sheet tonight about the Texas quarterback situation with Quinn Ewers possibly expecting to come back next season, according to that On3 report.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with Andy. I actually think this helps Arch. I think him getting put in too early, too quickly, definitely hurts him. More time to develop, more time to be in the system. I mean, you got to think about it. Everybody expecting these guys to start as true freshmen, redshirt freshmen. I mean, that didn't happen a lot in the last, 2 decades, 3 decades. It's just happened kind of recently here. So him coming in and you were saying and him be able to maybe possibly come in and be the starter as a redshirt sophomore, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I agree for Devy. I actually think it helps the stock because you don't take that chance that he goes in and plays really bad his freshman year next year and that his stock just drops like a rock. So I agree with what Andy said on that.
And we have to think about next year, Texas and Oklahoma go to the SEC, right? So, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame in itself where if he goes in there and just looks awful against SEC teams, that's going to take a lot out of his stock in general. So having that year to sit back and maybe if he gets called upon, because Ewers has got hurt before, right? But he at least has that system under notice of what the SEC is running like, so he can kind of get a little bit under his belt without having to showcase it to us to say, oh, wow, look out how bad he is necessarily. He has some time to practice and wait for his time instead of being like, oh, you're the guy now, so you have to go out there and shine.
Sure. More news coming out of Texas over the weekend. Possible RB1 in this class, Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL against TCU. How do you guys think this possibly affects his stock? I know that the ACL recovery time is normally the 8-9 months. That puts him July possibly of next year coming back. Do you think that this really affects his draft stock at all, or is this just one of those things that teams are going to take a shot on just because of what they've seen from him?
I think teams could take a shot on him. I feel 10 years ago or so, an ACL tear was horrible for the running backs. Modern day medicine has changed the way it is, the recovery system for it, right, and everything in between. So I think there's a possibility where, of course, it hurts his draft stock because I don't think he's necessarily going as high as he would, which would have been a day 2, possibly second round pick, just how good he's been playing. But now I think you're looking at him in that 4 or 5 range, maybe a third round. But teams saw what they needed to see in him. I don't necessarily think he needs to come back for it or anything. I think he can still enter and still have good draft potential, depending on what the team is. And in today's game anyways, you have a lot of running back by committees, so he may not even need to touch the field right away, but he's someone that can, help the teams down the stretch maybe.
For me, I actually think he does come back. I don't think you can leave, especially if you're a redshirt sophomore, have the ACL. I don't think any team's going to invest anything really heavily into him. So why leave to be a mid to late day 3 guy when you can come back, heal up at Texas? People love you at Texas. You stayed at Texas and you waited your turn behind Bijan and Roshan. You made a commitment to them. They made a commitment to you. Stay for another year, come back, prove everyone you're back, and be the RB1 or RB2 next year.
Speaking on that, in C2C league, CFF Dynasty leagues, what does that do to the value of CJ Baxter then?
I think right now, if you have any kind of buy window for him, you want to do it before his next game, right? Because I mean, he's gonna be the prime workhorse, or at least that's what we believe it will be him. Um, just because I mean, he was a hot commodity coming out of high school, right? So I mean,
Well, if Brooks comes back another season, what does that do for Baxter's value going into next year in like a C2C league?
For me, it matters how Baxter plays without Brooks here at the end of the year. If he comes out and crushes, I think people are going to be all over both guys. I don't think it hurts Baxter at all, even though, especially a C2C, you're not going to get the production right away, but you're like, hey, this guy's got NFL potential. CFF, it might hurt him a lot more. But C2C, if he crushes down the stretch here, you got to think coming off the injury, they're both going to probably get playing time next year, and they'll probably ease Brooks back in. So to me, if Baxter looks, and I don't think he will, but if for some reason he looks terrible these next couple weeks, then to me, that's the only thing that knocks him really in my mind. A lot of people didn't know if he was going to get a play as a freshman anyway. You were hoping true freshman comes out, busts it, and he's the man. But I think he's still way up there for me. And if he plays well here, I think they're both going to be hot commodities next year.
Yeah, with that, I don't think it hurts anyone. And actually, I think you should go out and buy Jadon Blue, because now he's that second back. He's going to show out. And if he does, he'll transfer somewhere else next year. So I think he's a buy low. You could probably send a 13th, 14th round sub pick for Jadon Blue, and whoever has Jadon Blue will probably accept it.
That's a good move. I didn't even think about that. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah. JT, I'm gonna kind of turn the floor over to you here. I'm a little bitter over the weekend. Talk about Brady Cook and Cody Schrader for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was, I didn't say anything to you during the game. I didn't want anything to, Missouri. They, to be honest, played probably one of the most complete games they played in decades. I mean, really, it's been a long time since they played as well as they did for 4 quarters through that whole game. The defense played amazing. I mean, Brady Cook has just the fact that people were calling for him to get yanked before the season started this year. I mean, Mizzou fans, everybody was like, you can't win with this guy. And what he's been able to accomplish on this team is unbelievable. And then Cody Schrader. I mean, what can you say about a kid playing at D2 just up the road, 45 minutes up in Kirkland, Missouri, D2 Truman State? And then he comes to Missouri, says, you know what? I'm walking on. I believe in myself that much. He leaves a program where he's the leading rusher in the nation, leaves it, walks on when it looked like he was the 4th, 5th string guy at Mizzou. He worked his way into the lineup last year. At the end of the year, they had to start playing him because he was doing so much. And then what he's done in the SEC this year is just been incredible. For people that don't know the story, don't follow him. I mean, the D2 kid coming in, and now he's leading the SEC in rushing. First kid ever, 200 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving in an SEC game. I mean, it's incredible what they have done with the players. I mean, we talk about 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. We're talking about kids 0 stars, 2 stars. I mean, what some of these kids have been able to do, obviously, Luther Burden's a huge part of that, but the guys playing around him, it's really, I mean, I know people are bitter about the Georgia loss, bitter about the LSU loss, but you got to realize that Missouri, I mean, 8-2 playing the way they have is just a phenomenal year. And it's honestly, I thought they would be solid. I never thought they would be this good. Brady Cook especially has really, really impressed me. He's only had 2 or 3 or 4 bad moments all year, and they basically came at the end of the Georgia game, at the end of the LSU game. And that's kind of what people have talked about with him. But I mean, he has been spectacular outside those last fourth quarters against both those really tough schools.
Yeah, they really carved up the that Tennessee defense over the weekend. Brady Cook looked spectacular, and Cody Schrader, I don't know what type of skill set he has to go into the next level, if there even is a next level for him. But my gosh, he's having a really incredible season. It almost makes you root for him, for the possibility of him possibly playing in the NFL.
To me, at the next level, he he's just a guy. Maybe he gets last round draft cap. Maybe I really see him as an undrafted free agent, but I also see him as a guy if he hits the right spot as an undrafted free agent. He's a guy. Is he ever going to be an All-Pro? No. Is he a guy that could play? Could he make a roster and do something? Could he have a Philip Lindsay type season 1 year in the NFL? Possibly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been amazing what he's done so far.
I kind of see him as like a Matt Breida type. Kind of a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield, is an effective enough runner. Can fill in a little bit for a starting running back.
Yeah, I think he can make a roster. I don't know. I don't think he. I mean, nobody thought he was going to be leading the SEC in rushing either. So you don't want to just completely count him out. But he has done exactly what they wanted to do, and he's been fantastic. I don't know if that translates to the next level. I mean, Tyler Beatty is another good example, a guy who just played his balls off at Mizzou and was unreal his last year there. And, he still has yet to find footing, in the NFL. He's been on most practice squads. So I think that's where you're kind of looking for him is, can he find the right spot where he'll fit? And that's why I think he feels like a more undrafted free agent to me, where somebody goes out and has him on their list, doesn't draft him, but then goes out in priorities, signs him, and sees if they can make something work with him.
Sure.
I think with him on the next level, he makes the roster being like a gunner type of special teamers.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that plays hard. He can play special teams. He'll do it. He won't complain about it at all. But I think he's the guy that's going to be your third running back who injuries happen. Can he get in the lineup? Can he produce and play solid? Possibly, if he gets a chance. But I think that's looking high upside right there.
I mean, look at what Keaton Mitchell's doing.
Yeah. Keaton Mitchell's a different type of player. That just breakaway speed is kind of ridiculous. Andy, I know you have thoughts on this next guy. I'll go and let you talk about him. I'm sure he's a major sell for you at this point. And matter of fact, you've been telling people all season to sell him. Go and talk to me about Drew Allar.
Yeah, all off season, he was my biggest stock down guy that there is. I get the talent's there, but there comes a time where you need to turn that potential into ability. And at this point, people were comparing him to Josh Allen. He's more Taysom Hill. The only time he's comfortable is when he's running the ball. You don't see a franchise quarterback on a 4th and 1 towards the end of the first half. On a 4th and 1. You do a backwards pass to a running back, and you have that quarterback run a route to get a first down catch. You don't see that with a top quarterback. So I've been out, and I hope that if you had any stock in him, that you sold him earlier.
Well, and he looks like he panics way too much in pressure situations too. That to me does not spell future franchise quarterback.
I've been real high on him, and I've said that all along. He just doesn't look like he trusts anyone on his team to make a play for him. It's like he's second guessing every throw. He's looking at guys like, should I make that throw? Should I not? Is he going to catch it for me? And we always want to put it on these big games. And if you want to put it on the big games, he looked terrible against Ohio State and looked terrible against Michigan. Now, those two have been two of the best defenses in the nation this year. So, I mean, you got to give him a little bit leeway there because those teams have been outstanding, but he does have a long way to go. You can see the arm talent. You can see the accuracy on some plays, but man, it's just not consistent. And like you guys said, once he starts seeing pressure and the defenses start coming at him, it's like he doesn't make snap decisions. He looks like he's thinking about it. And it's like, you can see it like going on his head, like, should I throw that? Should I not? It's like he's not reading or reacting at all. It's like he's just sitting there trying to think about it and what should I be doing? And obviously, we know high level college football, NFL. If you're having to think about it that hard, you're in trouble. You're done at that point already. You're getting sacked or you're throwing a pick.
It's crazy because we know he has the arm talent, right? The cannon arm. But I mean, with him not being able to trust those wide receivers, it's gonna come to the question of if they get a solid wide receiver next year and he's there with them, that it is he good because his wide receivers are good, right? Is he just looking good because of that? Because right now, I mean, you could say he's looked good because Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton look great, right? So I mean, it's something very to dissect when you are looking at those quarterbacks. And I say it all the time is sometimes you have a quarterback that looks great, but then you look back and it's like, look at the throws he's making. The wide receivers are making them look great because they're kept going up there and catching it. And right now, he doesn't really have that wide receiver to necessarily do that. If they are, they haven't stepped up quite yet. So, I mean, it is something to monitor. And the 25 class in a whole, I feel like, has just kind of gone down. You know, I think the quarterback class leads another year for sure. I mean, luckily they are 2025 because hopefully they can do something right in the offseason just to progress and get better.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks who look good because of their wide receivers, the next guy that I want to bring up is a bona fide Heisman candidate right now, just because of the numbers he's putting up. And that's Jaden Daniels. Of course, with Jaden Daniels, you're not able to talk about him without mentioning Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. In that same breath. I'm not a I'm not, nor have I been a huge fan of Jaden Daniels' skill set that translating to the next level. But those receivers making him look real special right now.
Yeah, I want to know what everybody else thinks because I know we've all been like, hey, we like him as a college player. I don't think he's an NFL guy. And man, the NFL talk, first round talk flying around this week. I was shocked by it. I couldn't believe how many guys that I follow and I read all their stuff and I trust them. And they're all talking about him possibly late first rounder. And I'm like, really? It shocked me how many guys I saw like, oh, Jaden Daniels played his way into a first round quarterback. And I'm like, has he? I mean, he's looked great, but haven't we seen a lot of quarterbacks do this where they ran the ball really well? They're an exciting offense. They put up great stats, but we're like, oh, that guy's he's not really a bona fide NFL quarterback. And it's everybody's out there at least saying he is now. And I still don't see it. I mean, I don't want people to get me wrong. The guy is awesome. He's looked great. He has been a phenomenal college quarterback, but he plays in a great system with a ton of talent around him. And he uses his speed and his wheels have helped him a ton this year. And can he translate that to the next level? That's what I'm worried about. Does he turn into mostly a running quarterback at the NFL level if he ends up on a bad team with not great wide receivers? I'm still worried. I wonder if you guys have been seeing that same stuff and that same talk that I've been seeing this week.
Well, here's kind of my thing with him, and I'm just going to throw it out there just to get your guys' reaction. I look at Jaden Daniels' ceiling as being kind of a less intelligent Joshua Dobbs type. I think they have the same type of game to them. Obviously, Josh Dobbs is way, way smarter. But I just think that they're very, very similar players in their play style.
I like that. That's interesting.
My comp for him was Tyler Huntley coming into the season. Now, it's tough because when you watch the tape, those plays are being made, like you said, Tommy, because of the receivers. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, they're making the plays. Yes, he's throwing it there, but the receivers are having to jump, make plays for them. So it's not like he's putting it in the bucket. The receivers are having to make the adjustments and make the plays, and they don't get the credit that's going on. Like, I get the quarterback's going to get all the blame and all the compliment, but when you watch his tape and you watch his film, I don't see a first-round talent there. Now, there's a lot of buzz. CBS Sports had a mock. They had him go, I believe, late first as well. There's a lot of mocks out there that have him as a first-round talent. I'm just not there.
Yeah, I mean, for a quarterback, a big thing is precision, right? So hitting it on the money with those throws. I do see Jaden Daniels expanding the plays. So if he has to get out the pocket, he is making those moves. I mean, this last game, he was responsible for 600 total yards. Just over that. He had 372 passing and just over 200 rushing as well. So he has the mobility and the excitement to do certain things. But think of like a Kyler Murray, but just with less precision. That he can do it, and I think that'll transition horribly to the NFL because you need that. Sure, you have some playmakers, but in the NFL, those defenses are gonna read you right away, and you're not gonna. The guys are a lot faster on defense, so you're not gonna be able to escape as quickly as he is right now. So I've been saying that I do think he is someone that the receivers look great. I mean, arguably Malik Neighbors could win the Heisman. Because of how good he has looked based on with them getting them involved and Jaden Daniels actually turning more into, okay, I got to get the ball to Malik Neighbors here.
Yeah. Okay. Next couple guys I'm wanting to talk about here. My opinion are rising in the Devy rankings for me. Andy, I know that at least one of them is for you as well. And that's Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe and Liberty quarterback Caden Salter. Both both pretty similar size. You're able to actually draw the comparisons for Salter to another ex-Liberty quarterback with Malik Willis. Am I too far off there, or is that pretty fair for him?
The only comparisons between the two that I see that are similar is that they both transferred from a SEC program. As far as Caden Salter, I think he's a better prospect overall. I'll pull up my notes that I have for him. He's a former top 100 recruit. He was at Tennessee. He got kicked out for possession of weed. Salter's a 6'1", 200 pounds. He's got a very good arm. He throws at multiple angles. He can make off-platform throws. He's very athletic. And the thing that I like about him is that he stresses the defense, either with his arm or with his leg. He's an accurate thrower with touch, and he places the ball where only his receiver can get it. That's been his biggest improvement this year. When you watch his tape from last year to this year he's placing it in the bucket. He's placing it with finesse. He's placing it where only his receivers can get it. And then if you're just like box score scouting, you're saying he can't even complete 60% of his passes. I've watched. There's countless plays where he's on the run. He throws it on a rope to his receivers, and they just drop it. And we talked earlier about Drew Allar. He doesn't have a supporting cast. Salter is playing with guys that are going to be in sales after they graduate from Liberty, and he's elevating them. So I think something like that you have to take into consideration of what he's doing. He does need more refinement. He's a redshirt sophomore. He has footage where he layers his throws over the defenders. I do like that, but they're not a team that's going to throw like 30, 40 times. So you need more consistency to see on film. But my comp to him, play wise, not size or stature, but play wise, is Colin Kaepernick and Justin Fields.
Okay.
Yes, Salter, I was going to say, he's the guy that when he transferred, I was expecting big things out of him at Liberty last year. It was kind of a rough start, a rough transition for him. But I think the same thing. He's looked really good. And like Andy said, this is not a team out there throwing the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game. I mean, he's got games where he's throwing 15 passes, 20 passes. Like they're trying to run ball control. They're holding the glass. I mean, they're not a team out there just piling up stats. And so when you look at his stats, it's not like they just jump off, at you. I think he's like just over 2,000 yards on the season. He has 26 TDs and only 4 picks. So that tells you, he can take care of the ball. He has had some huge rushing games this year. He's had, I think, one game for 160, another one where over 100. So he has shown he can run. But like Andy said, I like him. I think Justin Fields, I hadn't thought about that, but size wise, kind of the way he plays, it does kind of make more sense to me that way. But I think he's a guy that's going to rise a little bit. I think he's way better than Malik Willis. I mean, I know they played at the same school, but to me, he is much better of an all around quarterback and less of just a pure athlete than Willis was. And you see the jump he's made last year to this year. Yeah, give him another year in the system. I would love to see. He seems like one of those guys that even though they don't throw the ball a ton, you could see like 35, 36 touchdowns and like 2 picks next year. He's just that kind of player that's going to be just, real, and like you said, accuracy. Like he said, if you want to do an adjusted accuracy of where he's playing the ball compared to what are actually being caught, I think that would be much higher, like Andy said. But he's a guy that I really was a little down on after last year, and then was super impressed with this year and was a little angry I didn't have more of them coming into this season.
I think the only thing I think Malik Willis had better was the arm strength. I think Malik Willis got away a lot in college with his arm strength and just throwing bombs. But everything else, I think Soldier just looks so much better. As he said, just a better prospect in general. His IQ for the game looks a lot better. He looks more calm and everything like that. So,
Andy, kind of touch on Jalen Milroe also. Early on in the season, he was not a very good passer. He was really inaccurate, and basically he was an athlete running around back there playing quarterback. But now over the last several games, he's really shown that kind of deep ball touch. And has really begun affecting the game with his arm more than his legs, and that's saying a lot because he affects the game a lot with his legs.
Yeah, and then to finish up with Salter, I absurdly have him high. He's my quarterback 5 for next year for the 25 class if he chooses to leave. So I have him absurdly high. But for Jalen Milroe, yeah. When he got the job and you watch Alabama play, he was lost. They were trying to run plays where he had, 3 to 4 reads with multiple progressions that he had to do, and he was lost. He did not know what to do. Once he got benched, from all reports, his demeanor changed and everything just kind of just changed. And then when they named him the starter again, they really simplified the offense for just one read and go. So he's gaining confidence, he's building confidence, and when you have a confident quarterback, that's all you need. That's really all you need. And now you're seeing it. He always has thrown a beautiful, deep pass. So you always see that. But now he's starting to read defenses. He's getting to that second look in that second window. So he's someone, if he returns next year, he could be a major player.
I think getting benched, did a lot to him because at first it was kind of just getting defeated on the field, right? He wasn't getting done. That loss to Texas was huge. And them saying, hey, man, we're going to bench you for this guy, and it's going to show just his confidence. How do you come back from it? And the fact that he went back, sat down, took the bench spot, but then came back and said, all right, now it's my team. I need to make it's my team. And I think that just kind of elevated. You can see the energy kind of changing him where he's going in there with confidence now in the huddle, just being a leader. And that's what you want from a quarterback, right? As you said earlier, they get the compliments and they get the criticism as well. Well, he now accepts that and says, look, guys, it's on me. Come out here and play ball with me. He still is running the ball. It's not like it's completely shut down. He just had a game over 150 yards 2 weeks ago. So he's still showing that skill set there, but we are seeing more of a critical, okay, I am your quarterback. I do have teammates. I can make them involved. When I get everyone involved, we're all happy because we're all eating.
Well, in Alabama, they had to have seen what everybody else saw in that Jalen Milroe was undoubtedly the best option there in that quarterback room after that South Florida game. Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson were not good at all against a really, really bad South Florida defense. Kind of makes me wonder what Jalen Milroe would have done to them.
Yeah, for me, so many guys, these days, easy to transfer, easy to do all the stuff. You lose your job. I just get disgruntled and I'm out. Him fighting through, just staying in it. Obviously not in that locker room. I don't know what the coaches, how their talk with him was or what they said, but the way he's come back to me just raises him in my eyes. Like the fact that he came back, stuck with it, and has looked better. And we always talk about seeing guys progress throughout the season. Man, has anybody progressed more than him this year? I don't know. I mean, he has looked better and better every week. And I mean, the coaches at Alabama, this is the reason they're some of the best in the business. I mean, they have really adjusted that offense, like Andy said, to help make him more comfortable and make him feel comfortable, and then add stuff to it. I mean, I think it's a masterful coaching job of what they've done to sit a kid, to not lose him, because that's a hard thing to do these days, not lose a kid once you bench him, to keep him still in it mentally and keep him prepared. And then the fact that when he got back in there, he was ready to roll. It's just a masterful job by Alabama. And to me, again, he went up a lot in my eyes this year to see where he's progressed. And then think just, man, and now we give him a whole another season, off season with the coaches, figuring out that offense. I mean, the guy has got all the talent in the world, so they can put it all together with the mental and everything else. You got to love what you're seeing out of him right now.
And you have to think with like Alabama, for example, or just SEC teams in general, a lot of times, a lot of their star talent, leaves. They just have that rotating talent where it's like, all right, here's pro, here's the next guy up. But Rose's going to have a lot of his team still left with him. It's a lot of that offense, right? So this is a great season to say, okay, y'all can't do it. Now let's work this off season. Let's start getting this chemistry together. And next season, Alabama could be scary. I mean, only one loss on the season so far. They could be a scary team next year.
Yeah. I completely agree. As much as I hate it, Alabama is in a very, very advantageous position having Jalen Milroe coming back, possibly for another 2 seasons. But another guy who I thought has really progressed really, really well over the course of the season has been Dylan Johnson, the running back for Washington. Pretty much just known as a receiving back after he transferred out of Mississippi State. He's been running the ball really well. Over the last 3 games, he's got 444 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's nothing to sneeze at. He's showing he not only has receiving ability, but he also has the ability to see holes, hit the hole with power. Because some of these carries he's getting are goal line carries, and he's having to power through the line in order to break the plane of the end zone.
I'm also on Johnson. He's a guy I didn't really see coming. Early part of the season, this was just gun the ball down the field, and you're like, oh, he's getting some yards because everything's so spread out and wide open. But he's got some really tough yards of late. Now, he lit up USC, but so has a lot of people. Now he really lit him up for 256. I mean, he went off on that 4 touchdowns. But what I was really impressed was he bounced back, came back, and got over 104 against Utah, which, probably has the best defense in the entire Pac-12. Them and Oregon are right up there at the top. For the fact that he came through and then got those tough, harder yards the next week against a much tougher defense, to me, that said a lot. It wasn't just a one big, I'm going to be a flash in the pan against a bad defense. He came back and showed it there. He was not a guy really on my radar coming into the season whatsoever. And he's a guy that has really impressed me. And I think is a big reason Washington's where they're at. I mean, everybody can talk about Penix and how, all the wide receivers and then thrown around, but with 0 run game kills you. And he's really been able to kind of get in there and kind of do some of the dirty work and kind of change things up for Washington. And if they're going to get a chance to get in the playoffs, I think he's a big reason why.
Well, the bigger game was, against Utah, having a tough front 7. But then also you think of the last games, especially USC, they didn't necessarily shut them down, but they're understanding Michael Penix is going to air it out. So the fact that these past 2 games he has stepped up, he has taken the workload and said, look, guys, I can handle this, goes a long way. Again, that game against Utah, one of their other defenses showed a lot. They have a nice front 7 that knows how to close in, knows how to bring that pressure. And the fact that he still got over 100 yards, shows he could take that workload. And I think it goes hand in hand well, especially for a playoff push. Just now the rankings that came out that Washington's number 5. One of these Pac-12s, whether it be Washington or Oregon, is possibly getting in there. And Washington has a solid case for them because they know Oregon has a nice passing game and running game. Well, Dylan Johnson's had to step up, and he has as of late to showcase, look, guys, we are a complete team just like Oregon, and we're going to make a run for this playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's really stepped up, and you know, it's a weak running back class, so anything can happen. Come draft day, I would like to see more still, but I think there's something there with him.
Guys, go ahead and before we get out of here, go and tell us where we're able to find you, what all you're working on, and we'll go and call it a night.
Yeah, you can find me at JT Orange on X. Also, here every Tuesday with you guys on the Dynasty Pros Devy Show. You can also check out my show, The Stew with JT Brew, at dynastyprosfootball.com. If you're into IDP, check me out. I write an article for Fantrax every Wednesday, and then I also do a rankings for DLF. So IDP rankings there as well.
You find me on X at the PPR. So every day except Saturdays, we're doing a thread. Fridays, we're jumping around, just doing some with content creators on that one. Every Tuesday on dynastypros.com, my IDDP, individual Devy defensive players, just dropped one on Jared Verse, a great prospect from Florida State that's going to blow up in the NFL, in my opinion. And then you can see my IDP start sit articles going on for RPO every Thursday for the NFL side. Plus, I have covering the Los Angeles Rams for the High Point Creator Network.
You can find me at Andy_Fam1 every Thursday, dropping a player profile focusing on the 2024 draft class. So we'll have everything complete for you come draft time. Every Friday, drop Devy and C2C games to watch, and then every Monday with a stock up, stock down, and C2C names to watch.
And same as every week, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like, go and leave us some comments. Also go follow us all on X, and follow at Dynasty Pros FF for more content on X as well. That's going to do it for tonight's show. Again, I'm Tommy Harvey for Justin Taylor, SC Romero, and Andy Pham. We will see you next time.
Did y'all see the balloons at the end?